Hey guys, it's Pastor Phil here from Connecting Church, and in this video, I want to talk for just a second about how we as Christians should or should not or can engage in political arguments around us. Right now, in our country, tomorrow's election day, and that means that right now it is tense. It is at the height of the political conversation around us. And so, how do we, if we're followers of Jesus Christ, we believe that Jesus is our Lord, our citizenship is in heaven, how do we navigate the height of this scene around us? How do we walk forward being, a part of this nation, a part of the conversation, but yet cautiously entering into political dialogue? I think Jesus gives us some really key points. In fact, in Mark chapter 12, we see Jesus engage in a political conversation. In Mark chapter 12, some of the Jewish leadership actually try to trip Jesus up. They try to trap Jesus. They try to make him pick political sides and try to get him to twist his words. But yet Jesus shows us in this conversation how we as his followers and as his people can engage in political conversation without getting sucked into political conversation. So Mark chapter 12, starting in verse 13, let me just talk you through this story. And I think there are three specific ways Jesus teaches us to engage in the political conversation around us, whether it's a tense political year or whether it's a boring political year. Jesus teaches us how to argue politics. Mark chapter 12, verse 13 says this: "Then they sent some of the Pharisees and the Herodians to Jesus to trap him in his words. And when they came to him, they said to him, 'Teacher, we know you are truthful and don't care what anyone thinks, nor do you show partiality, but teach the way of God truthfully.'" Now let me stop there. What happens is this group of people, the Pharisees and the Herodians, which, by the way, hated each other, they were politically opposites. The only thing they agreed about was that Jesus was bad news. And so they come to Jesus and they try to trap him. They try to kind of suck him into a political argument that he doesn't want to have, that he shouldn't be having. And so their goal is to actually trip Jesus up. But they kind of butter him up at first. And I love the way they describe Jesus. They describe Jesus as someone who doesn't play the political game. They describe Jesus as somebody who is above the political truths. I love how they say that we know you are truthful, you don't care what anyone else thinks, you show no partiality, and you teach God's truths. You see, the first way Jesus teaches us to be political and to argue politics is to reject and refuse the political game. When you think about the political game that's being played all around us, when you think about someone who is playing politics, they're always looking for the right position. When someone is being political, they're trying to, get votes. They're trying to get you to like them. They're trying to get your support. Right now, every politician that's out there is looking at opinion polls, swing state polls. What's this going to take? What's that going to take? And there's always this current of sway. Like, what's going to keep me in power? What's going to keep me elected? What do the people want? And the political game says, I'm going to fix my carriage on that. I'm going to fix my horse to that. And that's going to lead me through. But yet Jesus is above all that. It says, you don't care what people think. You teach the truth of God. And so Jesus shows us that in a politically tense scene, what ultimately matters is not this party platform, that party platform, but God's truth. It's not what will win me votes, what will get me popular opinion. It's God's truth. And as Christians, that's got to be our heart too. It's not what this person believes, what that person believes, what culture believes, what this party believes. The goal is God's truth. And so the first thing Jesus teaches us is to reject the political game and just stick to God's truth. Be a person all about God's truth. The second thing Jesus teaches us is that we can resist, and we must resist, oversimplification of political arguments. It's not always this or that. It's not always this thing or that thing, but Jesus rejects the simple yes and no's, the left and right. He rejects this division that we often see in our culture. Look as the verse continues in verse 14. They asked him this question: "Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay or shouldn't we?" That's a two answer question, yes or no. Do we pay taxes or do we not pay taxes? Now, this is the trick question, Because during Jesus' time, what is happening is there is this great division between the Jewish people. They are currently, as a nation, Israel is occupied by Rome, and so they pay taxes to Rome. They are not an independent nation, but they are a territory of Rome. And so as a territory of Rome, they pay taxes, they're under Roman rule. Now, the Jews, many of them hated that. They hated Rome. They hated paying taxes. They hated their lack of independence. And so they wanted a literal revolution. In fact, they had many revolutions. They said no more Rome. They would pick up arms and fight back and would lose. And so many Jews would say, we hate Rome. We're not going to pay our taxes. We should rebel. We should fight. God was with us. Let's take this country down. But then another side says, let's buddy up to Rome. Let's be their friends. Let's get the best life we can under Roman leadership. And so you had two very polarized opinions. In fact, there really is a hard to see a middle ground. Either you love Rome or you hate Rome. Like, how is there a middle ground here? And so this trick question was meant to instantly divide Jesus. If Jesus said, yes, pay taxes, a lot of those zealous Jews will stop listening to him. They'll stop, the crowds disappear. Jesus loses political power in Jerusalem and in Israel. But if Jesus says, yes, pay taxes, or no pay taxes, if Jesus rejects taxes, then Rome sees him as a revolutionary, comes in with garrisons and wipes him out. And so there's no good answer here for Jesus. So what Jesus does is he refuses the oversimplification. Jesus refuses the yes or no answer. Jesus refuses to take political sides, left or right. He comes in the middle. As the verse continues in verse 15, here's what he says. But knowing their hypocrisy, he said to them, why are you testing me? Bring me a denarius to look at. And they brought him a coin. Whose image and inscription is this? He asked them. Caesar, they replied. So Jesus just completely avoids the question. He completely rejects the oversimplification, and he tells them this really strange request. He goes, bring me a coin. Bring me a denarius, a simple coin. And he looks at the coin and says, whose image is on that coin? And that leads us to our last point of Jesus' political argument plan, is that Jesus refuses to make politics the ultimate authority. Jesus refuses to make politics the ultimate hope and the ultimate authority. Notice how this scene finishes out here. This is verse 17. Jesus told them, give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and give to God the things that are God's. And they were utterly amazed at him. So instead of saying yes or no to that simplified question of pay taxes or don't pay taxes, Jesus says, bring me a denarius, bring me a coin. And he looks at that coin and he says, whose image is on that coin? They all answer, it's Caesar's. In fact, in the Roman Empire at that time, all the money belonged to Rome. All the money belonged to Caesar. It was his money. You just happened to have it in your pocket. And so Caesar's imprint, Caesar's image was on that coin. And Jesus says, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, but give to God what is God. Now, the balance of that statement is amazing. It shows us Jesus' deity and just his powerful words that left the crowd utterly amazed. He both single-handedly put a respect for government up, but also the priority of God. Jesus said, pay your taxes. Like, it's Caesar's money, give Caesar his money. It's got his image on it, give it to Caesar. All over the Bible, we're told in many different places to respect and honor government. Romans chapter 13 tells us that we are to submit to the authorities over us. And in 1 Timothy chapter 2, we're told to pray for the kings and authorities over us. So the Bible is very clear that we as followers of Christ should respect, follow, and obey as much as possible, as much as within the framework of our faith, follow the government and lead them. No matter who's president, no matter what political party is in charge, there's a respect and a need to follow government and follow those in authority over our lives, from those that are our parents, our teachers, all the way up to presidents and rulers. And so Jesus acknowledges that by saying, give to Caesar what is Caesar. But the ultimate priority he points to is that we belong to God. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, but give to God what is God. Now, here's why I find this amazing. Every Jewish person listening would have known this, that we as human beings are created in God's image, that God's image is on us, that we have the stamp of God's image. We have some of his characteristics, some of his attributes in us, that we are made in God's image, unique from all creation. Mankind is made in God's image. So there actually are two images here. There's this little image of a coin of Caesar, but then there's the fully beautiful created image of God in each one of us. And so what Jesus is masterfully saying is, give to Caesar that money, but you and I, we belong to God. That means politics are important, but God's most important. Politics matter, but God ultimately matters. Presidents, kings, governments, they're important, but God's most important. So as you and I engage in political discussions, as we watch the news over the next couple of days, remember this. Remember the kind of three things Jesus teaches us: to resist plain politics. It's God's truth. Resist oversimplification. God's got a better way. And ultimately remember, politics are not the priority. We belong to God. I hope you find that encouraging. As followers of Jesus Christ, let's walk this season carefully with love and ultimately looking to our citizenship that is in heaven.